much. What a warm welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I invite you, before starting, I invite you to use your headsets because this ceremony is going to be held in French and in English. So I invite you to use your headsets. Mesdames et messieurs, je vais vous inviter à utiliser les écouteurs qui sont mis à votre disposition, car cette cérémonie va se dérouler à la fois en français et en anglais. Donc je vous invite à le faire. Alors, mesdames et messieurs, distingués invités, avant de débuter cette grande cérémonie, cette célébration des 50 ans du Fonds africain de développement, nous allons avoir le plaisir et le privilège de profiter de la prestation de celui qu'on ne présente plus ici au Ghana, qui est à la fois un écrivain et un poète, dont la réputation bien sûr n'est plus à faire. Je vous demande d'accueillir chaleureusement Nana Asase. Veuillez s'il vous plaît l'accueillir chaleureusement. Nana Asase.
That's all right.
Good.
And I am a lonely dreamer, traveling to distant homes, to nurse my germinating journeys, and to seed my adventures as fruit for my dairy. I am a jubilating fruit, swinging the visible joys of a breezy day. I remain the hefty tongue of conscience, housing the cheeks of time, awaiting the next eternity to speak light to this chaos of the world. I am the writer king who sips communion wine from the calabash. I did not come to pour libation. The king keeps his choicest meat in a pot of gold. And so I welcome you to the crossroads of dreams, this market of 9 moons, the center of the world where it all began, where in the evening the creator descends to enjoy the breeze, where Africa cooks the food and sends to the rest of the world. This golden mat we lay at the center. I could call your name in 4 tongues at once, but I did not come to impress you. Africa, can we have a conversation? I could say Swahili bienvenue, I could say Sandazua, I could say welcome, but welcomes are enough. Can we sit around the golden mat with this music born by the fireside? From the Sahara, would you come and sit with me? Let me tell you about wisdoms our ancients passed down to us. The art of eloquence holds very little mystery for me, yet money remains a very urgent matter of which the world is still learning. And so, today it will read your farm, tomorrow it will be my turn. But when it comes to keeping the community alive, Africa is sharded in so many different parts and colors. But when I look at Africa, all I see is gold. A golden bulge on the face of the world. Yet how do we keep it running? Like I said, that the cock that crows to wake up the whole neighborhood belongs to one household. But mind you, we see uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. But I tell you, uneasy lies the behind that sits on the throne. And so, for 50 years and more, like a child, we started to take baby steps. We crawled, we fell, we rose, we wiped ourselves clean, and we continued walking. How have we kept our cloth so pure? The blood and toil of our fathers, this serious sweat of our mothers, all the lush greenery that the Creator left us in this little garden. What do we have to show for it? Our commonwealth is not stashed in votes. Probably not this calabash. It is too small to hold all the wealth of Africa. Our commonwealth is this fantastic brain that you hold in yours and what I hold in mine. Yet it is that willingness to give into this communal pot so that when we have all had enough, there is still enough left for generations yet to come. When I say Ago, I expect Ame. Ago, Ago, ago. And so I do not come to your homes with noise, but it's an urgent matter that we leave our farms to sit and count the harvest. When the harvest is due, we might have made surplus. You see, your over bumper is simply my peace of mind. At least for a year, we would only be overfed scarecrows on regular patrol, and there would be equity. There would be no thieves, only overfed scarecrows on regular patrol. We would simply be neighbors. And so, my neighbor, when you get to these exits and you meet soap, rub what is enough and let the last man carry our blessings. They are sure to come around somehow. I simply came to your homes, knocking on all the doors of Africa. Place your brains in here. Place your feet in here. Place your skill in here. But above all, empty your purse and put some good money in here so that we and our legacies will be golden enough for the world to see and realize that is how they are fed. Let them not call us dark. Let them not call us those who are far behind. Let us beat our chest and tell them, Africa is proud and Africa is sufficient. How do we develop if we do not have this common purse? And so, dip your hand in there. Drop it bountifully so that on the easy will lie the head that wears the crown. On easy will lie the behind that sits on the seat. But when we face the world, we'll be bold enough to say that while we worked and while the music played, we made enough daylight so that our harvest is bumper. I'm the writer king who sips communion wine from the calabash. I did not come to pour libation. Of our tongues, of our colors, of our creeds, there might be so many different parts. But when I look at Africa, all I see is gold. And so we have counted 1, 2, 10, 20, 30, 40. Our jubilee is golden. Our age is golden. The world might be expecting us to go on retirement, but at 50, we are still so strong. ADF, congratulations. Many more successes to come. When we are weighed by 60, we would be heavier, and life for us would have started at 60. A word to the wise still lives in my calabash. Africa, good evening. Put your own for inside.
He calls himself the writer king who sips calabash with the ancients. That is a very big calabash. It's certainly not from Ghana, but put your hands together one more time for Nana Asase. Distinguished guests, invited friends, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Gateway to Africa. My name is Bernard Avele. I'm a radio and TV journalist based here in Accra. And we like to believe that if you come to Africa without passing through Ghana, you came through the window. If you're happy to be in Ghana, tell your neighbor, Akwaba. I didn't hear that. Say Akwaba. We're here to celebrate a very important milestone, and I have a lovely co-host who would introduce herself.
Thank you very much. I am Marie-Angèle Touré, also a journalist. I come from Côte d'Ivoire, and in Côte d'Ivoire we also say Akwaba.
Is it?
Akwaba, oh yes we do.
So Akwaba to all of you one more time.
Akwaba to all of us. Thank you very much. So distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I will have the opportunity to speak in French today. So, distingués invités, mesdames et messieurs, je vous souhaite également la bienvenue à cette cérémonie tant attendue des 50 ans du Fonds africain de développement, un fonds qui ne cesse d'œuvrer au quotidien pour le bien-être de millions d'Africains sur le continent. Alors, en guise d'introduction, ce que je vais faire, je vous propose que nous découvrions ensemble un mini-documentaire qui résume un peu les 50 ans de ce fonds africain. Nous allons nous intéresser donc à son histoire, aux différentes étapes franchies au fil du temps, et nous allons avoir aussi une idée des perspectives de ce fonds. Donc, je vous propose que nous regardions ensemble ce documentaire.
Video.
My people, open your eyes and answer the call.
I greet you all in the name of peace.
Africa is rich and not poor.
The continents must move towards great unity, and the human race must move towards unity.
kama jamii, zamani tulikuwa hatuna kitengo kama hiki.
لما مؤخر جانا يا صنداج إن شاء الله تمونا كنا قدرنا نشربوا شربوا موانكا وقدرنا نستحم ما شاء الله صقلنا ولا عندنا مشكلة.
Notre mission, c'était donc de former les ex-combattants au métier de l'agropastoral. Ces acteurs-là deviennent de vrais acteurs de paix.
50 years. 50 years of helping fragile economies escape the debt trap through its concessional funding and grants. 50 years of innovative investments in infrastructure. 50 years of transforming lives. For 50 years now, the African Development Fund has brought hope to millions of the continent's most vulnerable people. 1972. When it first opened, the African Development Fund was able to provide $135 million in concessional loans and grants. From that modest start, the path was set for outstanding achievements. Since then, the fund has invested more than $51 billion in over 2,700 operations across 40 countries. Innovative thinking was and remains the cornerstone of ADF.
We've got the best and smartest researchers in Africa, and I get to work with Rwandans, with Kenyans, with Tanzanians, people from all across Africa. If it didn't exist here in Rwanda, I would probably be in France or the UK right now.
In the 1980s, the fund consolidated its optimistic debut and positioned itself as a key vehicle to finance the needs of African economies. It expanded its operations to 12 new countries and established a regular triennial replenishment cycle. 1997. South Africa and Botswana became the first African countries to contribute to the fund. Agriculture, human capital, and private sector development became key sectors of investment.
There were big challenges before the plant came in. Since the starting of the plant, I don't remember of an instance where the power went off with the patient on the table during theater. That, I think, is a thing of the past.
Early 2000s, the creation of a transition support facility to address fragility and build resilience solidified for several years the pioneering mark of the fund and its ability to deploy innovative solutions to tackle complex and challenging problems.
Maro tena maro nguravutana sy vitan'igny terakinyany sy vitan'igny marariany fa nangmpamaro traza nangmpamboly aza mahita vokasoa amin'ny lala ty aby.
As it grew, the African Development Fund was able to help Africa's lowest income countries multiple challenges. The 2008 financial crisis, the 2014 Ebola outbreak, increasingly frequent and intense drought, floods and other natural disasters, and more recently, the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic. After 50 years of service, the evidence is clear. The African Development Fund delivers tangible results. 2021, the Center for Global Development ranked the fund the second most effective global development institution out of 49.
Mwanzoni ilikuwa kidogo iko na wakati mgumu kwa sababu ya ilikuwa ni boda zilikuwa mbili. Ilikuwa inaweza chukua masaa mawili, lisali moja na nusu, lakini sasa ukitoka Tanzania unasimama upande wa Kenya, wanashuka wanaingia, ukitoka wanaingia kwenye gari na proceed na safari.
Moçambique já está a ter alguma expressão. Hoje Moçambique já começa a ser um país exportador. Nós exportamos feijão boer para o mercado de Dubai, para o mercado da Índia, exportamos gergelim para o mercado do Japão.
But the fund's work has only just begun. Africa's low-income countries have been the worst hit economically from the pandemic, with fiscal deficits, debt and potential conflicts on the rise. ADF countries have almost 500 million people still living on less than $2.50 per day. Given the scale of the needs facing Africa, a bolder vision is required. To achieve this, the fund aims to mobilize an ambitious but achievable $50 billion over the next 8 years to finance more impactful and transformational projects. In the Sahel region, the Desert to Power initiative will bring up to 10,000 megawatts of clean solar electricity to power schools, agriculture and business, and will impact the lives of 250 million people. A multinational ADF-funded irrigation project is having direct impact on food security, improving the living conditions of over 3 million people, 51% of them being women. "50 years of transforming lives together, turning challenges into opportunities, giving the right support and training, driving Africa towards transformation and above all, hope." The journey over the past 50 years has led the African Development Fund to places where very few go, now more than ever.
Que c'était rafraîchissant, paradoxalement d'ailleurs, de voir ces images d'archives. Et de toute façon, ce qu'on dit, c'est que pour savoir où on va, il faut savoir d'où on vient. Alors maintenant que nous nous sommes remémorés l'histoire du fonds, nous allons à présent vous montrer des témoignages de personnes qui ont profité, qui ont bénéficié de ce fonds. Et vous verrez que le continent entier est concerné. Nous irons du Cap-Vert à la Tanzanie. Alors je vous propose de découvrir les témoignages des personnes qui ont bénéficié du Fonds africain de développement.
My name is Ana Monteiro. I am Cape Verdean. I am an environmental engineer with a master's in environmental science and policy. I worked for Kabayalika for 10 years here in Cape Verde, and now I work for the United Nations Industrial Development Organization. Once I completed my master's, I was looking for my first job, and I happened to look in my country as well, and it just so happened that there was a wind farm project being developed at the time. So the project entailed the development and construction and operation of a wind farm project in Cape Verde. Prior to the implementation of the project, the country was suffering many outages, lack of installed capacity. Having the African Development Bank Group as an early anchor lender was extremely important because it sent out a very strong signal to all of the partners involved, not only in terms of the government providing them even further confidence, but also the shareholders and the investors, and also the utility company, and even the contractor. We used Vestas. We have Vestas turbines here in Cape Verde in the Kabayalika project. Vestas was at the time one of the largest turbine manufacturers, and to give us attention and provide us with the 30 turbines that are now here in Cape Verde meant that they were very confident in this project and wanted to be a part. So happy birthday, African Development Fund, for your 50th anniversary.
Nasoma shahada yangu ya uzamili ya kuhusu kuhudumia wagonjwa wa magonjwa ya moyo ambao ni Masters of Nursing of Cardiovascular Nursing. Na hii yote pia niendelea kupata opportunity ya kufadhiliwa na AFDB. Kwa hiyo ni furaha yangu kuendelea kuwa mbobezi zaidi na kuhakikisha elimu yangu inawasaidia wananchi kwa ujumla.
This is still the 50 years of ADF. Please put your hands together. So we heard a story from Cape Verde and from Tanzania. We now want to bring you a story closer to home here in Ghana. It is my pleasure to invite a lady who's benefited from ADF support in a very interesting way. She has a remarkable story to tell. Selina Aveva will join me upstage for a quick conversation. Please welcome Selina with a round of applause. It's a rather long walk. Please be more generous with your applause. Selina, please join me upstage. I think I need to help you with what you're holding, some of your products. And Selina is joining us for a quick conversation. Selina, you're welcome to tell your story. Selina is the chairperson of the Kobiman Women's Association of Ghana. Kobiman is a community which is quite close to the largest interchange in West Africa that the ADF funded. It's called the Pokwase Interchange. Kobiman is a community which is very close to the center of that interchange. Selina, welcome. It's great to have you. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing well.
Please stand closer to the mic.
All right.
All right. So, Selina, tell me about the Kobiman Women's Association. Who are you and what do you do?
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Selina Avevo. I'm the chairperson for Kobiman Women Association. Yes, Kobiman Women Association was formed some 15 years ago just to empower rural women. Yes, and through this empowerment, we've been able to raise 3 or 4 women to the district assembly to represent the community.
Amazing. Yes. So how did you get to be supported by ADF? Just tell us the story.
Yes, we were introduced by the district assembly to the ADF fund through the Pokwase Interchange, which had a community support for women. So we were privileged to be selected to have support from the ADF fund.
So how many women do you have in the association and what do they do?
Yes, and we have 50 women as at now. And we train our women in skills, soap making, bread baking, pastries, beads making, and so forth. Batik tie and dye before, now it's not popular. We do room decor. Those are the things we train our women. It's a training center.
So it's a training center. What was the situation before ADF came? And how did ADF support change that situation?
Yes, and we've been training our women. We've been training our women and to empower them economically. And we train women in the community and outside the community. And sometimes people come from outside the community and it's far from where we are. When they come to the training, where to sleep, it's a problem. Sometimes they sleep on the floor. So when ADF came to our aid, we suggested it would be nice for them to help us build a hostel for our trainees. So that came, they built a hostel for us. And not only the hostel, it's a 20-bed hostel. And also they've given us a borehole, a manganese borehole, with a reservoir to store water. Before we go outside and fetch water to the center, now we are free. We do our product freely, no stress. And also our trainees, when they come to train, they have comforts, they sleep, they don't go. Sometimes they go, before they go and they don't come back. Maybe it's a 1-week training or 2 weeks training, they go 2-3 days, they don't come back again because of financial problem for them to take a vehicle to the center. So this hostel has helped us a lot. They come, they sleep in their comforts and learn. And they learn and learn well before they go to their various areas or villages in the rural areas in the Amasaman. You know, Kobiman is in Gan West, Amasaman, and we have a lot of rural areas along the area. So when they come to train or they come for the training, they will have some place to sleep. So now they have comfort to sleep, to train in comfort. And also we've been able to have a roller for the mixing of flour to do our pastries or bread. And we also have the mixture. We're also fortunate to have a complete furnished office with complete laptops. Yes, and also we were fortunate for them to renovate the old training center that we
So all
have
of this came through
from
the ADF.
fund.
Amazing stuff. So what kind of women, you said you were 20 before, now you are 50. What kind of women are we talking about in this association?
Yes, we are talking about women from the rural areas that don't have anything doing to support their families. So we train them to get something doing, just help their families to also live well.
Did you bring some of the products for us to see?
Yes.
So what do we have here?
Yeah, this is a liquid soap.
A liquid soap that the women make.
Yes.
What is this?
And this is a pastry.
Pastry.
Yes.
Is it edible? Can I eat?
Yes, you
Is
can.
it, how much is it? Can I have a look? So this is a pastry made by women. You train.
Yes.
And what else is that?
And this one is also a pastry.
And more soap. They made the bag as well.
We have this.
Amazing.
Yes, this bag is made from one of our ladies.
So over 50 women giving skills, giving shelter,
Yes.
producing all these wonderful things. So just a final question, Selena, and congratulations. I think she deserves a round of applause. Congratulations for all you're doing. We've seen a major road project. All of us use the road. We did not know that your association even existed. And because of that support, all of this is possible. Finally, what is the future looking like? Looking forward, you and your 50 or so women, what can you see in the next few years because of what ADF has done?
Yes, we are looking at it that we will get more women to train, for them to also be economically set up, and also we are looking at it to go further, higher markets, even not only in Ghana, outside Ghana, and we are ready to train any woman that needs our support. Yes.
That's wonderful. There's a very cynical saying in Ghana, when you provide roads, people ask you, is it roads we eat? I think from this model, roads can be eaten if the right support is given. Let's put hands together for Selena as we leave the stage. I'm calling Marie-Angèle back. So Selena Avevo from the Association of Obiman Women, empowered, supported to produce great stuff. Let's put hands together. Marie-Angèle.
Très important le L. Alors merci encore à Selena pour son témoignage, de nous avoir expliqué son parcours, de nous avoir montré ses produits, c'est très inspirant. Alors à présent, coup de projecteur sur notre pays hôte, le Ghana, où l'impact du guichet concessionnel du groupe de la Banque africaine de développement est saisissant, ainsi que dans d'autres pays africains. Alors les projets financiers transforment au quotidien, on l'a dit et on le répète, la vie, le parcours et l'avenir de personnes. Alors ces personnes ont décidé une fois de plus de témoigner, de partager avec vous leurs expériences et de nous montrer ce qu'elles ont vécu. Donc nous allons les découvrir à présent dans leur univers.
Dramane Diallo, ne si ye san 54 n ka baara ye sɛnɛ ye, ne ka tile baara ye sɛnɛ ye. N ye baara in kalan daminɛ masaw fɛ ka na laban sigida min b'an kunna bi. N ka balo b'o de la. Ka ko projet in an kun bɛ muru ni dabaw ni marifaw kɛ ka ɲɔgɔn kɛlɛ ji nɔfɛ. Wa projet nalen o bɔra la. Donc sisan an bɛ yɔrɔ min sisan o problème tɛ yen tugun. Mɔgɔ si yɛrɛ mɔgɔ tɛ jiko la tugun. Kosɛbɛ kosɛbɛ de. Kosɛbɛ kosɛbɛ projet ye nafaba las'an ma. Sirako o nɔgɔyara. Ala ni terrain ninnu dilanni ni balan cimenteli fɛ. Cimenteli kɔni y'an wasa yɛrɛ fo k'a dama tɛmɛ. Anw Sénégal caman donna an kunkolo la mais hali bi an tɛ ban dɛmɛ la dɛ, an bɛ dɛmɛ fɛ toujours. N bɛ sɛnɛ in na n bɛ se ka wari sɔrɔ ka n ka denbaya ka musaka ɲɛnabɔ n'a ye.
I'm Clara Shaibu Walizale, a 23-year-old final year student of the University of Cape Coast. I'm a poultry farmer, a beneficiary of Savannah Investment Program. So this support came in December. It came along with the cage, the beds, medications, feed, and then vaccinations. Immediately I had the passion to have my own poultry farm. I went ahead to learn from a poultry farmer all that it takes to run a poultry business. On a normal day, I wake up around 6. In fact, they wake us up because they'll make a lot of noise when they are hungry in the morning. So around 6 we are up, we give them water and then feed. And of course, we change their water, we wash the containers, because if you give them dirty water, their eggs production might be low. So one major thing I've been able to do with the profit I get from my eggs is to help with the house. The idea started when these birds came. People are from far distances, but then they want eggs and it's hard for them to come. So why don't we get a bike? So the bike came and we do delivery. We use the bike to buy feed and other stuff. I have a lot of customers that buy my eggs. We have hotels. There's a hotel just along the road where they come every week to buy like 5 crates. And then we have chop bars. The supermarkets very close by also purchase from us. We have households too that come to buy. And we have wholesalers.
Angarako Rechama Helen Juliette.
Angarako Blaise. Petaka Kiluake.
Mamarchi, manao épicerie, de manao chambre. Zahay zany efa 10 tao zay nanovanay hôtely.
Lala ty zany nienanay mbo tsy nivita. Tena fijalia be zahay. Favitany lala egny zany tsy de nandeha gny varotsy na gny hôtely. Fa tamin'ny fivitany lala zao zany tena feno matetiky zay kila raha atao zany tanteraky aby.
Magniry hagnitatsy any chambre toy fa tsy ampy.
From Japan, George. I'm 36. Me drive any. Drive up Kwasi. Kwasi to Kaswa. My worry. Name Bana wa. My 4. Yeah, Juma we see in 8 years in here. We start to Kwasi. Me sorry 4 o'clock and a Juma. So me do by 6 o'clock. I'm my first load. Now me there call. Ba and my load until 7:30 no mapon. To me free station, my do feel no. Now 8 o'clock. Pokwasi kwane de aboye ama yenye nipa bebre o station of Fako Debia because first no mo kusi o circle but wie road no osi o Pokwasi pe see traffic no e ko fon kra ya ho any traffic ti dodo na kra be fa ho no ona kwane so wi sa no e ma ye ntomo spare pass inti enka ye ti se na boye ma ye nko workshop se bi anka ba ko di workshop dia 3 days 2 days no si asade ne e fi ho inti ama adwuma ne de ekoso e bi a wo ahoden kwa na nye se ho mfa wo de a opa wetima ye adwuma.
My
My name is Peace Amwate. I'm a senior lecturer with the Department of Agricultural Engineering, University of Ghana. I teach courses like soil mechanics, fluid mechanics, rural engineering, and technical report writing. As is typical of engineering education, it is good for the students to experience what they are taught in the classroom. So if I teach my students wastewater management or the whole cycle of waste management, they need to see what they are designing. They need to see what the key decisions that are taken, the stories behind the designs they see. And so bringing them here is always exciting for them. 12 years ago, we visited this place. It had been vandalized. And so waste was just going into the environment and directly into the stream. But with the construction, everything has changed. The first time they dislodged, they found tortoises in the anaerobic ponds, which was a bit unimaginable. So scientists need to study how did these tortoises survive under such conditions. This, I believe, can just be a very huge thing. Okay? We can make it into a real research center so that different aspects, right from the wastewater, the sludge, how to get even phosphorus removal from the sludge, and other components which can be very, very useful. There's a lot more I believe that this facility can offer than we are doing now. So African Development Bank, I say thumbs up again, and I want to say that there is more that can be harnessed from this facility than we are doing now. Thank you very much.
Are you ready?
No, it will.
His name is Mr. Ochri, and he's a saxophonist from Ghana. Please put your hands together one more time. If you just joined us, this is the African Development Fund Golden Jubilee hosted here in the Gateway to Africa, Ghana. We would like to acknowledge especially President Akiwumi Adesina, who joined us. Please put your hands together. As you can see, I'm doing my best to look like you. I'm not sure I got the color right, but I'll keep trying. Well, we're also very happy to have our co-host, our own Minister of Finance, Ken Oforiatta. Great to have you, sir. So we've heard from the demand side. We've seen videos of people from all over the continent whose lives have been changed by the ADF. But what about the supply side? What are the donors thinking? How has the 50-year journey been? And what should we expect for the next half century? I'm going to invite some of them to join us upstage for a quick conversation on Adf at 50, where we're headed. Please help me welcome from Japan, Mr. Kentaro Ogata. He's the Deputy Vice Minister for International Affairs, Ministry of Finance. Please put your hands together. Please join us upstage, sir. From France, we have Mr. Christophe Boris, Deputy Assistant Secretary for Multilateral Financial Affairs and Development. Thank you, sir. From the United States of America, we have the Assistant Secretary for International Markets and Development for the U.S. Department of Treasury, Miss Alexia Latotu. You're welcome. From Germany, we're privileged to have the head of Division Regional Development Banks, Federal Minister for Economic Cooperation and Development, Miss Sigrid Schenk-Dornbusch. It's a long walk. Please help her with another round of applause, please. Thank you. We are also delighted to have here with us from the United Kingdom, the head of International Finance Institutions, Foreign and Commonwealth and Development Office, Mr. Phil Stevens. Please welcome him. And we also are happy to have a representative of the Minister of South Africa. If she's here, please welcome her with a round of applause, please. And please, you can do better for her. And last but certainly not least, from Canada, we also have a representative from that country's Ministry of Finance. Please put your hands together for her from Canada. This is looking like the United Nations already. Brilliant. I'm going to invite back my colleague, Marie-Angèle, to join me as we get a sense of the journey and also chart a path towards the future. So, Marie, if
I am joining you, Bernard.
Okay.
Once again, I remind you, ladies and gentlemen, to use your headsets because this conversation is going to be held in French and in English. And to begin with, we will start with Japan, Kentaro Ogata, and I will ask the question in French. Do you have your headset to understand what I'm about to say? But generally, what I'm about to ask you is your impressions. Quelles sont vos impressions lorsque vous participez, lorsque nous célébrons ici les 50 ans de ce Fonds africain de développement? On a eu le plaisir de pouvoir avoir un saxophoniste, on a eu le plaisir de pouvoir avoir un poète. C'est très festif, mais c'est un moment aussi de réflexion et d'analyse du passé notamment. Alors, quelles sont vos réactions et vos premiers mots?
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. My first impression in attending this Adf 50th anniversary event is that the strong passion from the participants, in particular from the African countries. That's something quite different from the other meetings. I have attended many different meetings from the different organizations, global organizations, regional organizations. But this is the most passionate meetings I ever attended. I think that makes the African Development Bank groups different from all the other institutions. And of course, it's under the strong leadership of Mr. President Adesina. But this close connection between the member countries and the passion from all the persons involved is making this institution the premier institution for Africa. So that's the very first impressions and the most strongest impression I had. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Ogata. Monsieur Boris, je vous ai vu acquiescer à plusieurs reprises. Je suppose que vous avez partagé effectivement l'enthousiasme, notamment de votre collègue jusqu'à côté, et que vous souhaitez nous en dire plus en tant que représentant de la France. Et vous parlez français d'ailleurs, comme moi.
Je l'espère, Marie-Angèle, merci beaucoup. Oui, comme vous le disiez, comme le disait mon collègue Monsieur Ogata, c'est un moment de fête et c'est un moment de réflexion, c'est les deux à la fois. Moment de grande fête parce que c'est le point d'arrivée d'une longue route en commun, une route que nous avons fait pendant un demi-siècle, les pays donateurs, les pays bénéficiaires, le staff de la banque, pour avancer. Je crois qu'on a été mis aussi bien dans l'ambiance, à la fois par la musique, mais aussi par ces vidéos qui nous montrent qu'on parle toujours dans nos réunions beaucoup de chiffres, bien sûr, c'est important, mais on voit du concret, on voit vraiment ce que cela donne, et pour nous, c'est ça qui est important dans le FAD. C'est cette relation qui est créée avec des projets concrets par cette mobilisation commune au service de ces pays qui vont délivrer des projets pour les plus fragiles. C'est aussi souvent ça, Kentaro disait que ce fonds n'est pas comme tous les autres et c'est vrai que pour nous, une chose qui est très importante, c'est que c'est le fonds qui a mis le premier en avant la question de la fragilité, bien avant les autres, et il a été précurseur pour ça.
Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. I'm switching back to English, and I need to make a quick correction. So the U.S. representative is Jessica Isaacs, Senior Advisor, AFDB USA. Please forgive me. If you're not too angry with me, then I'll ask you a quick question. If you can give us a sense of the journey, 50 years of ADF, what are your thoughts on that journey and what the key highlights are for you?
I think is this working? Yes. I think what we see is that the ADF has produced tremendous development results for the continent over the past 50 years. It's been a critical partner for the United States and for other donors who want to come and be partners in Africa on an African-led vision for stable, sustainable growth. And we want to be part of that, and that's why we choose to partner with the ADF. We choose to partner with the ADF because we believe in a resilient, inclusive Africa, and we want to be part of that vision. And we come together here as a forum of international participants who can work together on taking that vision into the future. And that's why we want to talk about the next ADF, the next 50 years. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed. This is supposed to be celebratory. We are happy. We are getting subtle commitments for the next 50 years. Please show your approval with a round of applause. I'm turning my attention to Germany because when I was studying economics, there was a book I had to read with your surname, Dornbusch. So Miss Sigrid Schenk Dornbusch, I thought I was going to escape all of that, and I've met you. I don't know if you're related at all to that macroeconomics author, but give us a sense of the feelings of Germany about 50 years of being part of this wonderful fund.
Thank you very much, and also for alluding to the name Dornbusch. It's, I know it is a very famous economist, but unfortunately, I am not his daughter, but I have often been asked this question. On the Adf 50, so I have been deputy for Adf 14 and Adf 15, and also now for Adf 16, and I can only repeat what my colleague from Japan said. That's really the will, the motivation here of this bank to make it better. And so and deliver on its commitments. And this is what, well, inspires me to tremendously support the work, the ongoing work. And so also I remember the visits we had in Rwanda, for example, and see on the ground what the bank delivers. And and this, well, motivates also Germany to further stand fast to the fund. And with respect to the future, I think the fund will be incredibly important for Africa, but also in a global perspective, because there are transformational changes which are needed. And to make these changes happen, we need enthusiasm, strong leadership, and ownership. And this is what the fund has to offer. So I'm looking forward to successful replenishment.
Turn to Mr. Stevens next, because I don't want a French question answered in English, a bit awkward. Then Angel will take the next two. So we know the UK does a lot of bilateral things. So just give us a sense of the importance of this ADF in that pool of multilateral things as well, because we see what you do in Ghana with DFID and UK aid and all of that. So again, give us a sense of the journey and the importance of the ADF for the pool of things the United Kingdom does on the continent.
Yeah, look, thank you. I mean, my first experience with the ADF was actually when I moved to Malawi 15 years ago. And my first weekend there, I drove to the lake. I'm sure many of you have been to Lake Malawi. It's really beautiful. And this road had just been built funded by the ADF. And it was just really amazing just how the communities around the lake had been transformed, that had more tourism. Also along the road, communities, people are able to access markets more differently. So I remember seeing the logo of the African Development Bank and being really struck by the real impact it was having then. So it's a real pleasure now to be involved with negotiating the new replenishment with some of our colleagues here. I think for the UK, we do a lot bilaterally, and our international development strategy that we published last week does say a lot about that as well. But it also recognises that multilateral funds like this one are really, really essential if we're going to solve global challenges that we all face, like climate change, pandemics, and so on. And in that respect, I think we really recognise the unique kind of offer of this fund, both in terms of the real local insight and knowledge that the bank brings to Africa, but also the real niches and strengths that the fund has developed over time. So I think particularly, obviously the work it does on infrastructure. There was a really brilliant article by CGD published about a month ago, which showed that the bank does more infrastructure with private participation than I think actually the World Bank does in Africa, despite being relatively smaller. So I agree. So I thought that was a really impressive demonstration of the real niche that the bank has there. I think, also obviously really strong in the area of agriculture as well, which I think, right now is needed more than ever with the food security challenges that many countries are facing after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And also on policy reform, I think the bank's achieved incredible results over the years, helping countries raise revenues, manage their public finances better, and so on as well. So we really acknowledge all those. And I think the other thing I'd like to say is that the fund, I think, has been a real source of great innovation as well. So if you look at things like the private sector facility, helping get deals over the line that wouldn't have happened otherwise, the transition support facility, and the innovative ways that the fund's been able to adapt and help countries transition out of fragility, and also the work that's done, the fund does with Adf Fifty as well, in terms of helping countries to insure themselves against natural disasters. I think the fund's been, it's been really innovative over the years as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ce que je note depuis le début de cette conversation, c'est beaucoup d'entrain, beaucoup d'enthousiasme et une forme même de fierté des pays donateurs du Fonds africain de développement. Et ce que je voudrais savoir, c'est pourquoi cette fierté, d'où vient-elle? Est-ce que ce sont les méthodes pratiquées? Est-ce que c'est le fait que ce soit des résultats pratiques, pragmatique que l'on voit. On a vu des personnes témoigner. Qu'en dit l'Afrique du Sud?
But let me just say, you know, I think for us it's a... It's a different reasons altogether from my peers here. As you know, South Africa was welcomed back into the African Development Bank in 1995, a year after the first democratic elections the country had ever seen. 2 years later, we were then made a pitch and we were invited to join the African Development Fund. And we have consistently been there as a contributor, one amongst, I think, with two other African countries. And I think as a nation, the decision that we took was, after all the sweat and tears that other African countries have endured, who decided to open their doors and hearts to our founding fathers as South Africa and mothers, we felt that this is the only way we know best to support and to show our appreciation. And that is the decision that we took of joining the ADF. So for us, it was really a decision that we took consciously, and it's a decision that we have not looked back. We continue to be supporters of the ADF, and we really continue to appreciate the work that it does in supporting other countries on the African continent. Thank you.
So the idea here, asking questions in French and in English, was in order to balance between two official languages of the African Development Bank Group. So for your comfort, maybe you would like me to ask you the question in English, or can we do it in French? En français? Mais c'est parfait. Alors la représentante du Canada va répondre donc à la question en français. La contribution du Fonds africain de développement, on le dit, n'est plus à démontrer sur le continent africain. On a vu les projets. Selon vous, quel est l'impact le plus important que vous avez pu noter au fil des ans, ces 50 dernières années?
OK, c'est bon. Merci beaucoup pour votre question. Aquaba. And let me first also say what a wonderful event this is. I have very much enjoyed the talent, the music, the poetry. I'll just reflect on a couple of things really quickly, and first of all is just for Canada the important role that the ADF serves. And providing concessional finance to those lowest developed countries on the continent is such an essential and important role. And we need to do that through partnership. And so this is really important to Canada. The other thing I wanted to reflect on, et j'aimerais dire félicitations pour les résultats, 50 ans des résultats. Et on a vu ça aujourd'hui avec les vidéos et les exemples. C'est notable. Donc, félicitations pour ça. Canada has been a supporter. We were an original shareholder. So what I can say is that we've been here for a long time, and we will continue to be with the ADF in the future. We think there's a lot of work to be done. There are a lot of challenges facing the world and facing the continent, but we're looking forward to working with the ADF to tackle those. And I find it exciting, you know, in our governor's discussion, we talked about innovative, you know, ideas, fresh thinking that we're doing together. And the one thing that Canada, when I think about what makes me excited about this, I think about the results, I think about the outcomes, and our ability to reach people and to change lives. So one of the things I really liked about this event that you had was that we got to meet Selena and we got to learn about the Women's Association. That's really bringing it home about who this is for. And so the hope for Canada is that all of these efforts reach everyone, that no one is left behind, and that we are able to, even the most marginalized, change their lives. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup. This is still the ADF at 50 coming to you live from Accra, Ghana, the gateway to West Africa. And we're speaking to the donors for the fund. My name is Bernard. I'm here with Marie-Angèle from Côte d'Ivoire. We could form a cocoa union before the program is over very soon. We're looking for donors to support us. This next round of questions is more looking forward. I want to start with Mr. Ogata from Japan. In preparing for this program, I noticed that for all the regional or continental funds, whether it's Africa, Asia, Europe, or America, Japan played a critical role. My question is, looking at the challenges we face in the world today, what kind of future do you see for ADF? Put on the crystal ball, look in the crystal ball and tell us where you see the ADF headed and the role it will play in Africa's development.
Well, thank you very much for this important question. Of course, we would like to see the African countries to grow in the future, and we would like to stand by African countries to achieve sustainable growth in the future. There are lots of opportunities in the African continent and African countries, but difficulty is that the money alone cannot solve the issues. Somebody has to find out the solutions for the problems that the countries face. And then finding the solutions needs the knowledge about the countries and the needs on the ground and the people on the grounds. Those expertise are something that we, Japan, do not have. We may be able to contribute funding, but the funding alone would not do any good. So we would like to team up with those people who has the knowledge and the expertise and the deep understanding of the needs on the ground. So that's our expectation from the African Development Bank and the ADF. And I trust that and then I now deeply understand that those people at the ADF and the ADB has such expertise and knowledge. So combined with those expertise and knowledge, I think we can help the African countries achieve sustainable growth. So that's the medium-term, long-term objectives or the dreams that we, Japan, have. Thank you.
Brilliant. I'm going to skip France because there's a special question for you, but I want to come to Ms. Isaacs. A couple of days ago, the president of Ghana gave the clarion call for a more dominant role for the ADF in the continent, talking about how it can come to become almost like the lender of last resort for us. What kind of future does the US see for the ADF beyond the wonderful work you've done in the past half-century?
I think if we look at the development finance architecture, what we see is that grant resources and highly concessional resources are a scarce and precious resource. And we can't fix every problem, we can't address every challenge with public money. But we can use the public money that we have to create the environment for the private sector to step in to solve the problems that they can solve, and for the government to play its role in helping the private sector to create jobs, to create inclusive growth, to have growth that safeguards the environment, that is green growth. And I think those are the visions that we have for what ADF can do. Let's take what we have in ADF and let's use it to grow more. Let's take that layer and add more layers of private sector growth on top of that. And that's what ADF can do. Thank you.
Chaque pays a sa vision, chaque pays a sa stratégie. On a entendu le Japon, on a entendu les États-Unis, on se tourne vers la France, effectivement. Ce qu'on voudrait savoir, c'est effectivement, lorsque vous vous projetez dans 10 ans, dans 20 ans, dans 30 ans, comment vous voyez-vous au sein du Fonds africain de développement? Vous vous voyez investir encore plus? Vous vous voyez investir où? Quand? Comment? Est-ce que vous avez des idées bien précises de l'avenir qui se dessine devant vous?
Alors, je ne suis pas devin, donc je ne sais pas ce que sera le FAD dans 20 ou 30 ans. Ce que je sais, c'est que la France sera à ses côtés, comme elle l'a été depuis le début, et souhaite le rester, a toujours été un des principaux contributeurs du FAD et souhaite le rester, parce que nous pensons qu'il est toujours pertinent et qu'il le sera encore demain. Et c'est ça vraiment le fond de notre conviction, notamment parce que, comme son nom l'indique, c'est un fonds africain qui sait parler aux pays africains, qui a un bon dialogue avec les pays africains, qui assure l'appropriation des projets. Et ça, c'est très important pour nous. C'est très important pour un pays donateur de savoir que c'est une institution qui a une bonne relation et un bon dialogue avec les pays bénéficiaires et qui saura justement, avec eux, définir des priorités. La bonne nouvelle, c'est que ces priorités, elles sont souvent partagées avec nous. Je pense à l'adaptation, par exemple, l'adaptation au changement climatique. On sait que le FAD a un rôle leader là-dessus, c'est le fonds qui en fait le plus, et malheureusement, on le sait, pour les 10, 20, 30 ans à venir, c'est une chose extrêmement importante pour le monde, donc nous serons à côté du FAD pour cette priorité.
Merci à vous. Au vu des résultats obtenus, qu'est-ce que le Canada se dit aujourd'hui? Qu'il veut s'impliquer plus dans le Fonds africain de développement, qu'il veut investir plus, qu'il veut voir plus de résultats dans les années à venir sur le continent africain? Voilà.
Oui, j'ai déjà parlé de quelques idées sur le futur, mais j'aimerais dire qu'à l'avenir, Canada serait là. Et nous avons une vision et les priorités. And it's clear right now that we've got, at the moment, for example, with food security and climate change, those are very apparent. I think when I think about the future and I think about results, one other thing I will add, because I've already made the point, about reaching the most marginalized, but also is about country ownership and about local solutions and about input on the ground. And so if Canada has a vision for the future, I think that's very much a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm turning my attention to Germany. My name Dombush. And how would you define success for the ADF for, say, the next decade? What does success look like for you for the next 10 years?
Well, I think there are two perspectives, at least. First, in terms of course, financing and the role of the ADF. So it should grow, but when exactly and under which conditions, that needs to be, we need to have a dialogue and and see what is possible. But in general, we want the ADF to grow and, one, become the leading bank for the continent. But on the other side, so we have to be realistic and see what the resources are, what the capacities are. But we need the fund, to address the challenges and to support the transformation which is needed. That's a key role, and to perform this role. So the fund will need to further improve in its political dialogue, for example, and leverage, it's the trust it has and also its convening power.
I will ask the final question of South Africa, and I'll give my colleague the honor of asking the question to the United Kingdom. So, I mean, you're the only African on stage, although I know there are other Africans. There's Egypt, there's Nigeria, and co. There's a lot of talk about development on Africa's own terms. So, what's your vision for the ADF looking forward? And how can you make it look more African? Not necessarily in terms of who brings us the money. We like the money, but in terms of how we use it. Because you're, I think, one of our 3 or 4 African countries in the top 10. So what can you assure the millions of Africans listening to you that the model of development the ADF would champion would resemble something from here Even though the money can be from everywhere. That's my question to you.
Can you hear me? Okay. For me, success for the ADF will be if we achieve some of the ambitions that we have set ourselves under Agenda 2063. I think one of what people believe to be a dream, but what I think is possible with the help of the ADF is, I'm sure you've heard about it, the Cape to Cairo network of roads. I believe it is possible. It's not going to be easy for member countries, but we already have, at least at a regional level, work that is supported by the ADF towards reaching that goal. You know, in my own region in Southern Africa, we have already completed the Kazangulu bridge that links at least 5 countries. We are looking at, we already have Senegambia as a bridge. We're already working on connecting the 2 Congos. So that is all work that ADF has had a part to play in one way or the other. So I don't think it's about who is at the table, but it's what we bring to the table that's going to make this projects that we have a reality. And it's in our ideas, it's in our resources, but it's also in our commitment as African policymakers to make sure that we implement the necessary reforms to make these projects possible, that they don't remain in files in our offices, but they become a reality.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Et nous laissons donc le mot de la fin au Royaume-Uni pour résumer un peu cette session, effectivement, très bienveillante. Et on l'a vu avec de belles perspectives, de beaux projets. Parce qu'on voudrait savoir si vous avez un mot particulier sur comment, effectivement, l'impact du Fonds africain de développement pourrait être encore plus fort durant les années à venir sur le continent africain et comment le Royaume-Uni pourrait-il y contribuer.
Great, thank you. Look, so I think the first thing to say is that I think the fund is needed more than ever, you know, in the context of all the compound crises countries are facing, you know, the debt challenges, the recovery from the pandemic, you know, now this war in Ukraine, so climate change, so, you know, absolutely it's really, really important. And I think even if we can find ways, as Sigrid was talking about, to make the fund a little bit bigger, resources are always going to feel scarce. And so we really need to focus on that question of how to make it as impactful as possible. And I think that's something we're all talking about a lot in the negotiations at the moment. I think, you know, as I said earlier, the fund's really been, you know, it's innovated over the years. I think it needs to keep innovating. We're talking about some new ways we might do that at the moment. And I think in terms of, you know, sort of areas of focus looking forward, I do think, as a Canadian colleague just said, that the area of climate, you know, helping countries to adapt to climate change is going to keep being a really, really important you know, area for the fund to focus on. I think the President Adesina, when he was at COP26 in Glasgow, talked a lot about the bank's role. I think the bank, you know, showed real leadership in this area of helping countries adapt to climate change. And I think the fund can find a really strong niche there going forward. And I hope that when it comes to the pledges and the replenishment, which is going to be around the time of the Africa-hosted COP27, that we'll be able to do something a little bit different, a little bit special in that space of climate change. So
wow, please put your hands together for the panel. 3 cheers to the ADF. Hip, hip, hip. Hip, hip, hip. I don't like what I'm hearing. Hip, hip, hip.
Hooray.
Brilliant. I want to say thank you to Mr. Kentaro Ogata. You can take your seats now. Deputy Vice Minister for International Affairs for Japan. Put your hands together.
Thank you
Please,
so much.
You can take your seats now. Mr. Boris from France, Ms. Isaacs from the US, Ms. Dornbush, Mr. Stevens. Please put your hands together for them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, merci beaucoup. Alors, nous arrivons au terme de cette session très intéressante, ce panel très intéressant. Moi, ce que je retiens de cette discussion, c'est avant tout de l'engagement. De l'engagement. Nous sommes là. Moi, ce que j'ai retenu, c'est nous sommes là et nous serons là. Donc, il y a des promesses pour l'avenir. On y croit. Nous sommes là tous ensemble pour le développement de l'Afrique. Donc, on voit que c'est l'affaire de tous, le Fonds africain de développement. Et d'ailleurs, le vice-président de la Côte d'Ivoire, qui n'a pas pu être présent aujourd'hui, Tiemoko Meïle Kone, a tenu à vous adresser un message durant ces célébrations du 50e du Fonds africain de développement, message que je vous propose de découvrir à l'écran.
Excellence, Monsieur Nana Akufo-Addo, Président de la République du Ghana, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs les chefs d'État et de gouvernement, Mesdames et Messieurs les gouverneurs du groupe de la Banque, Monsieur le Président du groupe de la Banque africaine de développement, Mesdames et Messieurs les représentants des pays donateurs du Fonds africain de développement, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, c'est un honneur pour moi de représenter son Excellence, M. Alassane Ouattara, président de la République de Côte d'Ivoire, à cette importante rencontre dans le cadre de la 16e reconstitution du Fonds africain de développement. Je voudrais, en son nom, saluer toutes les délégations ici présentes, ainsi que tous ceux qui suivent virtuellement cet événement de premier ordre dédié à la mobilisation du financement pour le développement du continent africain sur les 3 prochaines années. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, sur la période 2010-2020, ce sont des projets d'environ 24 milliards de dollars américains qui ont été financés grâce à nos donateurs et partenaires bilatéraux à travers les différents cycles du FAD. Les investissements réalisés ont permis de maintenir une trajectoire de croissance plus vertueuse, davantage résiliente au choc, qui fait la fierté de l'Afrique. À titre d'illustration, le PIB du continent, après une moyenne de 4,3% sur la période 2000-2019, devrait se situer à 3,8% en 2022, contre 4,5% en 2021, selon les prévisions du Fonds monétaire international. Les récentes crises qui affectent l'Afrique, au nombre desquelles la pandémie de la COVID-19, les attaques terroristes, la crise migratoire, les effets accélérés du changement climatique et le conflit russo-ukrainien montrent que des défis importants subsistent. Dans ce contexte, l'atteinte des objectifs du développement durable, ODD, à l'horizon 2030 et ceux de l'agenda 2063 de l'Union africaine nécessite une mobilisation accrue de ressources en vue d'assurer le financement du développement. Il s'agit également d'opérer des choix stratégiques en matière de bonnes pratiques agroécologiques et industrielles qui permettent d'assurer la sécurité alimentaire en Afrique tout en réduisant l'empreinte carbone. C'est pourquoi je joins la voix de la Côte d'Ivoire, mon pays, à celle des autres intervenants pour solliciter une contribution plus importante des donateurs du FAD 16 dans une approche de partenariat gagnant-gagnant. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, les difficultés liées au contexte mondial actuel doivent servir de catalyseur pour explorer des approches novatrices de mobilisation de ressources longues pour nos institutions supranationales de développement. Il convient à cet effet de relever qu'au nombre des 74 pays à faible revenu, éligibles au guichet IDA, 39 pays sont en Afrique et ont un accès limité au guichet non concessionnel. Pour ces pays africains subissant les effets des crises actuelles, il est vital de donner une réponse à travers une reconstitution forte du FAD 16 à l'image du succès qu'a connu l'IDA 20. Il s'agit de donner la possibilité au FAD de passer à échelle les importants acquis de ces 50 dernières années et particulièrement la dernière décennie de progrès impulsés en Afrique. Les expériences cumulées devraient permettre d'accélérer le processus de développement et d'investir dans la transformation de l'agriculture pour une meilleure efficacité de la lutte contre la faim et la malnutrition sur le continent africain. C'est donc avec espoir et confiance que je voudrais clore mon propos en réitérant au nom de son Excellence, M. Alassane Ouattara, président de la République de Côte d'Ivoire, l'appel aux donateurs pour une contribution plus importante lors de la 16e reconstitution du Fonds africain de développement, FAD.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Vice President. Did that sound right? Put your hands together one more time for the Vice President of the Ivory Coast. And now to bring to us the closing remarks for this special celebration, it is my pleasure to invite the President of the African Development Bank, Excellency Akiwumi Adesina. Please put your hands together as we receive the President.
It's pretty cool with his bow tie, isn't it? My dear governors, shareholders of the bank, in particular the state participants for the ADF, it was a joy to watch you on the stage. And I think if there's something about the ADF that is very special, it's the passion that we have, but the passion that you have, and the commitment that you have, and the hope that you have, and the support that you give that inspires even greater things in our continent. And listening to all of you speak over there, talking about not just the past 50 years, but the future of 50 years, we know we have true partners for Africa. Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, life is not equal. Yet all lives must be equal. Regardless of where you are born, the conditions under which one is born, or the economic status of the country where one is born, every boy, every girl, every woman, and every man has a right to a decent life. For the past 50 years, the African Development Fund has been giving hope, expanding economic opportunities for millions of people. I call the African Development Fund the fund with a heart. The fund has been working to reduce inequality, to reduce fragility, to support us to walk in the far-flung places that it's very difficult for them to have access to water, to sanitation, for girls to go to school, or even access to electricity. The fund has also pushed us to work harder for those people. And so, on behalf of all those people that we work for, I want to say thank you. When I was elected president of the African Development Bank, I remember my first board meeting. I wasn't used to how things were done at the bank. After all, I'd just been elected president. But as president, I know I'm president over the African Development Bank Group. But I always tell my staff that the most important part of the bank is not the bank part. The most important part of the bank is the development part, because we are set up to be an instrument to accelerate development. And I remember the first board meeting. They gave me the dockets for me to read. I read a lot. My staff know there's nothing, it doesn't matter if it's this tall, I'll read every single thing. Oh, and they're looking at me and they're nodding, yeah, we've seen that. But I read this document and I came to the board meeting. And it was about a project in a place in Sudan. And that area in Sudan was a zone of thirst, they called it. 50% of the girls were dropping out of school because they walked almost 10 kilometers back and forth to get water. 50% of the household income was actually spent on water. And 85% of all the conflicts were water-related conflicts. So you can imagine that zone was a zone of thirst, they called it. And I remember looking at my docket and I flipped to see how long it was going to be before we provided the water. And I saw it was going to be almost 3 years. And of course, the board had just approved it. So I said, no, I disagree. Now, how do you disagree when the board just approved something? There is a benefit, at least you don't know what you're doing, because you just started. And the dean of the board called me aside and said, Monsieur le Président, you see, here, we approve, and you say thank you. So I said thank you, but I disagree. Because if our procurement system takes us that long, if the engineering works takes us that long, by the time it's 3 years, all the girls will be out of school. And then we'll come back to you with another nice project of how to get the girls back to school. No, there must be a way in which we can do this for a shorter period of time so that we can get these girls to stay in school. And that was exactly what was done. And that's because I believe fundamentally as a person that you put us here to fast-track development. We don't have the luxury of resting. Our job is to fast-track development, to use the resources you gave us, to milk the most out of it. And thank you for what you were saying about the passion that you feel here from Japan. That's who we are. Since I've been president of the bank, I say I don't have the luxury of resting. That's not why they put me here. Keep working. Fast-track Africa's development because we are too way behind. Yes, you can see what we do with the Senegambia Bridge. A dream come true for Senegal and Gambia since 1974. It's a beautiful masterpiece of quality infrastructure. You can see it in corridor threads, Route Nationale threads in the Central African Republic, connecting them to the Central, to DRC. Je suis sûr qu'il y a les gens qui sont là, qui viennent de ce pays-là. Ils peuvent vous donner les témoignages de ce que je viens de dire. Comment la Banque africaine de développement et surtout le Fonds africain de développement, on a été innovants. Nous avons pu mobiliser les ressources au niveau régional, des guichets régionaux, pour pouvoir faire cette route, qui est c'est le plus large investissement déjà fait, mais pour un pays qui a besoin de ça, qui crée une intégration régionale dans une zone où, auparavant, le niveau d'investissement dans l'infrastructure était complètement faible. Ça, c'est le Fonds africain de développement. Vous pouvez sentir ça quand vous regardez le pays comme la Côte d'Ivoire, dont on vient d'écouter les paroles de son Excellence, Monsieur le Vice-président Koné. Quand la Côte d'Ivoire a rentré dans une crise avec la guerre civile, beaucoup de gens ont eu peur, mais pas le FAD. La Banque africaine de développement, en utilisant son guichet de la fragilité, était là. On a beaucoup soutenu la Côte d'Ivoire. On a renforcé la capacité institutionnelle. On n'a pas eu peur. Parce que même si les autres ont la capacité, ou bien s'ils veulent quitter l'Afrique, la Banque africaine de développement ne peut pas quitter l'Afrique. Aujourd'hui, avec ce soutien magnifique que nous avons donné à travers de votre ressources mises à notre disposition, la Côte d'Ivoire, sous la leadership de son Excellence président Alassane Ouattara, ont utilisé les ressources là pour faire le fast track et la résilience, la stabilité de leur pays. Aujourd'hui, la Côte d'Ivoire, c'est un exemple parce que c'est le premier pays jamais dans l'histoire de notre banque qui a quitté le guichet de fragilité directement pour aller à la gare, au guichet de la BAD. Il faut l'applaudir là. C'est ce que nous appelons graduation. Pour quitter un niveau, pour aller à un plus haut niveau. You can see it right here in Ghana. With the fourth year Pokwase interchange. The first in West Africa and the second in the world. But when you think about the Pokwase, you think of the masterpiece of infrastructure. But think of the connection of lives that are impacted by it. When I visited here, I went to see the Pokwase fourth-tier interchange. And I met 5 groups of people. Two of them were women's groups. They were making cassava. They were processing it. And they told me that this road would allow them to be able to have more because the project has supported them to also have processing capacity. The project has supported them to have internet services. The transporters were there. And they said this project has transformed their lives and the time for travel has gone down. The vehicles, repair costs because of the bad road had gone down by 37, 38%. That is the African Development Fund. I was in Senegal with President Macky Sall when we funded them to have the train that's called the Regional Express train, Train Express Regional. J'étais avec son Excellence, Monsieur le Président. On était dans ce train qu'on vient de terminer, la construction. Il était vraiment très ému. Il était fier parce que ça a été fait, financé par le FAD, qui a diminué le temps de passer de Dakar à Djamena-Djo, qui a changé tous leurs environnements là-bas. That is the power of the African Development Fund. The African Development Fund has done so much in 50 years, creating hope everywhere. In 50 years, African Development Funds has financed 2,750 projects, operations that have transformed the lives of millions of people. In the last 5 years alone, the ADF has connected
15.5 million people to electricity. It has supported 74 million people with improved access to agriculture. It has provided 50 million people with access to transport. And it has provided 42 million people with improved water and sanitation. The fund has delivered great value for money. The Center for Global Development ranked the African Development Fund, your fund and ours, the second best in the world, ahead of 49 bilateral and multilateral development agencies based on the quality of our assistance. The fund is trusted by the people that it serves on the ground. They know that we do not just think about them. We do not just talk about them. We work for them. We work with them. I visited one of the projects funded by the Bank Group a few years ago. And it was a project on last mile connectivity on electricity. That village had no electricity. And I insisted I needed to see the impact of our work on the ground. And so, many of you may not know, I may wear a bow tie and three-piece suit all the time. But I'm actually a field person. My staff would tell you. Once I get into a field, a project, you can't get me out of it. So forget what you see here. And so we got over there and we were walking. We just came off of a helicopter ride. Because it was a very remote area. And just behind me was the Minister of Energy. And right in front of me was a lady whose name was Grace. Now, that's not Grace. That's not my Grace. That's not my wife. That's another Grace. And the minister was saying to her, that is the president of the African Development Bank Group. That is the bank group that financed this project. The response was one I really love and I will never forget. She said, I do not know the president of the African Development Bank Group. I do not know even the African Development Bank Group. All I know was that we once were in darkness and now we have light. That's the way it should be. ADF is also in our blood. The passion is not just a passion about giving money away. We do it also because we ourselves are passionate about the development that we put our resources behind. And I remember I went to Madagascar. And what is the name of the executive director, Dean, that was from Algeria? Suraya Melali. Executive Director Melali Suraya. And we flew to a place called Bamangoki in southwest of Madagascar. In fact, the helicopter ride was such a very, very scary ride. It's mountainous areas. In fact, when I got over there and I got down, I said, I don't want to even fly back. I don't know, because it was so scary. You look down and you see, oh my gosh, you hope this thing doesn't fall. But as we landed, there were a lot of kids because they were excited about the helicopter. They ran towards us, and many of them. And my eyes just fixated on one of them. It's a little kid. He ran towards me and I hugged him. But I was pretty sure he could not be more than 5 years old. And as I hugged him, I asked him, I said, what's your name? So they interpreted it for him in his local language because they speak French there, but he didn't speak French. And he said, my name is Anthony. But the voice that spoke to me was certainly not the voice of a 5-year-old. It was very deep. My name is Antonio. So I got a bit scared. So I said, how old are you? He said, I am 11 years old. He was like that. So I asked him, what would you like to become when you grow up? He said, I want to be a medical doctor. Now, Grace and I, we have our son, is a physician in the United States. I said, well, it's not possible for you to be a medical doctor with this level of severe stunting. Because stunting, some of you mentioned it on the stage, it's not just about stunting. It's about damaged gray matter infrastructure. I can repair a road, I can repair a railway, I can repair water, but the brain cells, when they are damaged, that's it. So I call it gray matter infrastructure. So I said, hold on a minute. So I took my phone and I called my wife, Grace, at home. Now, this is the real Grace now. So I say, honey, I'm right in front of this kid in Bamangoki. He wants to be a medical doctor, but he can't because he's severely stunted. I said, do I have your permission to adopt him right here on the spot? And my phone went dead. Hello, honey, are you there? She said, I am there. I said, do I have your permission? She said, go ahead and do it. That is how I adopted, and we adopted Antonio on the spot. We took him to the city. I met the then president. I said, I have a new son, just since my last trip. His name is Antonio. Take good care of him for me. We took him to school, took care of his parents. He got it, and he uses energy now in his house, renewable energy. But today, Antonio is almost my height. He's doing very well in school, and I certainly, by God's grace, expect that he will one day be a doctor. I told the president of Madagascar, my son is an ADF son. And that one day I expect, by God's grace, who knows what God can do, maybe he will also become president of Madagascar. That's a new life that you have. That's my son, ADF, so that you know that I also have ADF in my blood. That's because ADF gives hope. As Phil just told us from the United Kingdom, he said the fund is needed now more than ever. As we celebrate ADF at 50, there's still much more hope for us to give. There's still much more to do. There's still much more Antonios out there who are hoping that somehow their lives will be removed from the clutches of poverty and lack of education that they face every single day. The fund at 50, as we celebrate, has also $25 billion in equity. We've been talking to our partners for us to invest even more smartly, to use that $25 billion to leverage $33 billion, and therefore be able to give more hope. Just imagine what that will do all across of Africa, leveraging for hope. The fund then will be able to expand hope, be financially sustainable, support climate resilience, support renewable energy. And I think, as you heard on the panel, during the Adf 16, we were talking about a special set aside for climate because 9 out of the 10 most vulnerable countries to climate change in Africa are in sub-Saharan Africa, but 100% of them are the ADF countries. We'll be able to do the desert to power, which is in the Sahel, that will allow us to be able to construct 10,000 megawatts of electricity that will provide electricity to 250 million people. That will be the largest solar zone in the world. God help us. So let's, the next ADF 16, help ADF to go to scale up hope. Why not? Hey, my son Antonio had a dream. I hope that sometime, ADF 50, at 50, one day we'll be able to say ADF at $50 billion. Because I like everything that has 5 in it, high fives. I would like you to please look at the person next to you, give them a COVID-19 compliant high five, and said, high five to ADF. Thank you very much, and thank you for all your support.
Merci, merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président Akinwumi Adesina. Merci pour ce message délivré avec passion et engagement. Nous arrivons effectivement au terme de cette cérémonie consacrée au Fonds africain de développement. Merci, merci à tous. Effectivement, permettez-moi de vous remercier pour votre présence, pour votre attention. On vous a senti très, très impliqués durant toute cette cérémonie. Thank you very much, Bernard. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your humor. You really welcomed us well in Ghana. Thank you.
I think she deserves a round of applause. Put your hands together for Marie-Angèle. I hope you've enjoyed your time here with us. Thank you so much for being here. And since you enjoyed the saxophonist so much, we're asking him to come back to take us home. And at the right price, he'll be here for the rest of the programs. So thank you very much. One more time, hip, 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 hooray to the ADF. Hip, hip, hip.
Hooray. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed.